Okay, another note. Today I'm looking at the astrology of the upcoming weeks, months, and perhaps a couple of years. So I'm going to put it out there. If anybody wants to have a reading for the next couple of years to see how can I support you both with astrology and human design, to see a little bit what are the opportunities for you to channel, because as we enter this stretch of the next year and a half, a lot of things are going to be shaking. Like the boat is going to be rocked, and if we don't have a foundation, we might let the boat sink out of our fear. So I've been looking back and forth in the last few weeks, and the good thing is that I have this sense of responsibility, accountability, and Saturnian energy so embedded in my psyche that instead of panicking, I've been basically asking my higher voice to show me the way to create a structure. Obviously, you can do the same. You don't need astrology, but I'm just putting it out there. I don't normally open up and say, hey, I can do charts. Of course, I can do them. I do them all the time, but this is the first time I'm actually saying, hey, if you need a support, I'm here for you. Again, it will be a very integral reading where I'm going to go through the most important psychological parts of your soul, and what are you working on, how it is progressing, and what is in the future for you to establish, let's say, a path by looking at the patterns that you already know and the ones that I can support revealing you. Anyway, there are so many things going on in my head that sometimes I just have to, like every 2 hours, I have to sit down and write what I need to do in the next 2, because I can get very scattered, and in a way it's a nice energy to be able to feel that I can be scattered so I don't have to be so concentrated, but on the other hand it's not very productive. So I've been finishing the book. I'm writing here, correcting, laying out, rethinking, doubting. I've been doubting so much about this book. Who's going to read it? Why am I even writing it? Who cares? I keep on saying, Monica, who cares? Who cares? And at the very end, there's this little voice saying, I do. I actually care. It's the same reason why I make art. Of course, I love when people come back and say, I love what you do. It makes me feel this and that and that. But at the very end, I just do it for myself, because since I was very little, I remember feeling so much joy when I was in a creative mode. And I remember my mom and my dad being so supportive of that joy. And so I've never had it crushed. Well, apart from sometimes in school when they told me that was useless, that I should use my brain more, which I don't disagree. The brain is there to give us a function to think. But if I override the thinking and I do not allow the enjoying, then I'm going to be a slave of my thoughts, and not a person can actually celebrate the abundance of creativity that I can really produce. And I'm very gifted that way. I don't have to feel awful or guilty about it. I was endowed with a lot of talents, and I've been really pursuing a life where I can use most all of them, because I don't want them to go to waste. Anyway, what else do I want to talk about without having to talk about politics? What we're seeing right now. So I'm gonna kind of touch about it without being like siding with either place, but it is important to really start questioning ourselves, like the amount of rubbish or junk or garbage that we've been absorbing from the outside. And that includes also family, church, yoga place, wherever you stay in community. Just think about the places where you are in comunitas, where you actually are communicating with other people, you're sharing, and just pay attention what you are listening to and what you're speaking about. Just notice that. That's like a very beautiful meditation, just to see how you are engaging with the outside, how you're engaging, how is your mind engaging, and how much of that is junk, how much of it is opinions from other, not based, like things that are based on your own intuition or your own sense of self or instincts, or even your emotional patterns. So we tend to go to these places or relate in this way so we can feel that we belong, and we're so scared at times to just voice our needs because, hey, they're not going to invite me to this place anymore, I'm not going to be asked to do this piece anymore, etc., etc. So this is a very important thing, because what I've learned in the past, actually, yes, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm celebrating 4 years I moved to Miami Beach. It was July the 30th, 2020, where I took my flight from New York, and I one-way ticket to come to Miami Beach. And I had just recently rented via a FaceTime the apartment that I'm still living very close to the beach. And my worries at the time was that I didn't want to drive, because I've been not driving for so long. I know how to drive, or I think I remember. Those are those things that you don't never forget, especially when you learn very young. But I don't actually want to own a car. I don't want to have to pay insurance for a car. I don't want to put gas on a car. I don't want to travel on a car. And you say, so do you ever move around? I say, yeah, I do. I bike and I walk. And if I have to go from one place to another place where I cannot bike, I do take cars. But I don't have to incur in this expenses of maintaining a vehicle that is going to be used from time to time. I also believe that if I move my body, I'm going to feel more healthy. So talking about celebrations, that's a big celebration. Another thing that I'm celebrating is that sorry, just had another thought. I'm improvising here, so let's go back to where I was talking. I wanted to make a parenthesis with my trip over here, but I was talking about environments. And when I was looking at the charts of the upcoming new moon, which is in a couple of days, and then we have a full moon on August the 18th, I believe, or 19th, I'm not really sure. And then we will have a new moon again on September the 2nd. Then we're going to have an eclipse on September 17th. So, and then we're going to have another eclipse October 2nd. And then we're going to have a full moon around the time. So I look at the astrology and I was like, oh my God, this is interesting, because we're still in the lunar nodes, the axis of the south node of the moon in Libra and the north node of the moon in Aries. So the rulers are, for the south node in Libra is Venus, and for the north node is Mars. Venus in Libra represents the way we listen to the others. How do we not create expectations on relationships with others, situations, or things, where we are very sure about our needs, our essential needs, and what we value. So therefore we can have a conversation, or we can have a dialogue, or we can have a relationship where we're going to respect other people's needs, and we're also going to make sure that we state ours, so they're not expectations that are going to be created. Therefore relationships can be smooth. Now, when the south node of the moon is in Libra, and we've been there since a summer ago, and we're going to finish this round on January 2025, we're asked to look at that area of our life where Libra is in your chart. In my case, it's in the 9th house, where you start to question the way you relate to that area. So for instance, in my case, it's between the 8th and the 9th house. Now, just recently, it moved to the 8th house. But from the beginning, the whole year, I've been questioning my belief systems. I question everything that I've been studying and the knowledge that I have. Is it true? Do I relate to it in the same way? Is it useful for me to relate that way? And now that it entered on the 8th house, that is the house of fears, codependencies, addictions, and also shared values, I've been taking a lot of care and understanding how is it that I am dissolving with these matters. And it has a lot to do with inheritance, money as well, and intimacy. So since I am right now not in an intimate relationship with anybody, I am also revising the way it didn't work out the last times, and have I learned anything different since? Yes. And how do I feel about it now? Well, I'm very open to it, but I am basically revising everything where I felt vulnerable. Remember, my Chiron's in the 2nd house in Pisces, so one of the things is I learn to surrender, to trust myself and my needs before I trust those of others, and I give myself totally to the relationship without taking into account what I really need. So that's that. The North Node in Aries is asking us, and especially because Chiron has been there for a while, I believe since 2018, and it's going to be there for another 2-3 years, is asking us to actually embrace courage and embrace our individuality without expecting anybody else to come along. And I have been feeling this thing that I want to do something and I feel like I have to call a friend, and it's like, oh, would you like to come with me? So I'm noticing that even though I have a Mars in Aries, that I'm like always very impulsively starting things. It's on my 3rd house, so I like to always start conversations, or in class when the teacher or the educator is opening the floor for questions, I'm the first one to ask. And even sometimes I interrupt and I go, I have a question. So I'm not at all shy going that way. I have felt since Chiron is on my Mars, I have felt like I have to take some time to see how is it that I'm engaging, and what does it mean to be courageous. And so obviously I think I share already that I have Saturn on my Chiron as well. So these weeks have been really very much about planification, also because Mercury entered Virgo, and Venus is about to do the same, but Mercury is going to go retrograde. So I have been organizing a lot of my program of the next 6 months or even a year and a half, like the program in terms of money, in terms of what I want to achieve, is my routine with my exercise enough, how is the way I'm eating. I'm still 100% carnivore, so that, and it's been more than half a year already, and I have to tell you, I'm feeling so healthy. And I added some calisthenics to my swimming every day, and boy, I feel like so young every day. And I already see myself being 80 years old and being the healthiest woman walking around on earth with a smile, and just acknowledging how great I look, because that's the way I feel already. Next to it is, if you feel that you are afraid right now because you are not ready, because this is the biggest fear, am I ready for the next thing? Because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how the election is going to go. We don't know if the results are going to be accepted. We don't know if we're going to incur into violence. We don't know anything. What do I know? I only know that tumultuous times are coming, because with the eclipses changing of sign, we're going to have the first one on September 17th, where we're going to have full moon in Pisces. And that full moon in Pisces is going to, let me look at the chart 1 second and see. Just give me a second. 9, 17, 20, 24. Okay, yeah, so we're going to have a full moon in Pisces, and that moon is going to be conjoined Neptune. The nodes are still in Aries Libra, but being so close, it's still an eclipse. So the interesting thing about it is like, if we don't know where we're going, we're going to start feeling that destiny, quote unquote, it's a little bit more murky if we have not established a path. Also, remember, Pluto is going to go back to Capricorn on September 1st, and that's going to shake the tree quite a bit. So my advice, if you want to hear any, it's take a pencil and a paper out, or a notebook, and start planning. Plan your life. See what are the, make a plan A and B and C. Like, you want this to happen, but what if it doesn't happen? What will be plan B, plan C, plan D? And then so you already go through all of that in your brain, and you already know, oh, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. Oh, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. So you are ready. And get ready for more deception. Get ready to not understand what the hell's going on out there, because nobody knows. And we are meant to be in this deceptive mode, because it is up to us in the next 3 years to really get in touch with our individuality, so we choose based on our needs and not the needs of a society. So just not going to say it. I'm not going to say it only once. Communism/socialism is going to make you feel guilty about others, so you give away the right to be free. So just be mindful of these ideologies/doctrines that are spreading everywhere in the West, and they're everywhere. They're in the culture, they're in the arts, they're in everywhere. So I had this image yesterday in my meditations where the face of the puppet on top, it could be anything. It could be an orange wig, or it could be like a dark woman. It could be anything. It doesn't matter, because it's a puppet. Whatever is on top is a puppet. It has some dark forces kind of like telling them what to do. Underneath that puppet are the actors and the artists and the influencers. These are people who speak about the culture, and they say, yeah, I really like this thing and I really like that thing, buying. And then because we're idiots, and idiots means that we have no brain, we're outside of the norm. That's what it really means. We follow whatever we've been told, because we don't want to feel like we don't belong. Underneath that level, there are the intellectuals and the people who write the script of what is supposed to be said and done. So these people are very Machiavellic, and they are so disordered. They're actually doing it with a lot of intention of keeping society in slavery, especially with our minds. Remember what I talked about at the very beginning about our mind, like being very mindful about not making decisions with the mind. Okay. Last but not least, there's a, how do you call this in English? There's a funnel. There's a really big funnel. And underneath the funnel is everybody else. It's you, me, and the rest, the people. But guess what gets funneled? All the shit, sorry to be so graphic, that these people are putting up. All the poop is coming down to us. So we will never be free. So pay attention to everything that has been said. Question everything. Go and do research. Because at least if you're going to make a choice, you know that you actually truly, fully are committed to that. And if you're doubting, great, because doubt is the mother of all inventions. When you doubt, you do inquiry, and then when you inquire, you might find another truth. So there you go. I'm leaving you now. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.